Hey, what is going on, crypto people? Listen, high yield with your XRP sounds great until you realize who was holding the keys. If a token pays yield because managers run strategies and a certificate tracks performance, that's not trustless DeFi. It's a tokenized fund with custody and counterparty risk. Tonight, we'll unpack why not your keys, not your XRP still manage. Wow, it still matters. How managed yield products can mask the risk and some safer ways to put a small slice of your XRP to work without handing over control. We're going to get into it today. A little alarming. The post I'm seeing today from XRP community members is a little alarming today. And unfortunately, it verifies what I've been having this sneaking suspicion about with certain XRP members, XRP community members. I've said it I said it on 2 or 3 live streams, brought it up. I brought it up initially, immediately after a X Spaces, which Vet held, and he had Hugo on there. Immediately after that, because I listened to all of it. I had this sense that the tone and intention of that X space was disingenuous. That's me saying it, not anyone else. That was the feeling I was getting, the gut feeling that I was getting. And I said I was going to reserve any comment until I had these feeling gut instincts validated. And today I got that validation. And so that is unfortunate. That is really, really unfortunate that people in the community are putting the blockchain, XRPL, and TVL metrics ahead of the XRP holder. That's what that is about. And it's unfortunate that that is taking place. And wanting the XRP holders, these people, wanting the XRP holders to do the same thing, to put the ledger ahead of the holders. That's essentially what they're asking. Let me fix this. Devon, Steve, that is essentially what these couple of XRP members are asking. And that's unfortunate. And today I decided, after holding back and reserving my comments and statements, I'm not going to hold back anymore, because today it's been made very obvious this is what they're doing. A lot of people keep asking and they keep wondering about, why isn't the XRP community excited about Flare? Why aren't the XRP content creators talking more about Flare networks? Why aren't builders in the XRP community talking more about Flare? It's because they have decided to put the XRPL ahead of the XRP holder. That is why. They become married to the chain and not married to their very own asset. That is the issue. Now, I can say that. Other people, part of Flare, probably can't say that. But I can say that. Hold on 1 second, guys. Sorry about that. It's real, it's real TV. It's live TV here. And so this was the concern. And I remember Barbie said something about it in during the live stream and about my suspicion that that was going on in the community, the XRP community. And I'm putting it kindly, nicely, and wording it in a way, right? They're putting the XRPL and TVL metrics ahead of the XRP holder. And that is unfortunate. It really is unfortunate, but that's what's going on. And again, I think it's massively disingenuous to bring someone on a spaces to rant and rant and rant and rant about XRP doesn't get yield, can't get yield for XRP, and then to go out posting about yield on XRP because under the guise that is on the XRPL. That is messed up. And it's disingenuous. It really is, if that's a word. Right? So that irritates me because in the end, we don't own the blockchain. We own the assets. We are asset holders, not blockchain holders. In the end, we can participate on the blockchain. We don't own it. We didn't create it. So yeah, that's unfortunate to see two valued community members like Panos and Vet promote this product in the manner that they're promoting it is, I don't even know what the word is. It's disingenuous. It's not sincere. I don't know what the word, but it's not a good look at all. Especially when you're claiming things like anytime anything in reference to Flare comes out about XRP for holders, it's, well, where does the yield come from? Where is that real yield? Well, are you giving up your keys? What's going on there? Are you not your all of this, not your all of that nonsense? But when a product with major counterparty risk comes close to being on the XRPL, not a word, not a mention. And I called out that on X about that today. I said, I find it interesting that you're not asking, you don't have any concerns about where this yield is coming from. I find that interesting. Like you did for Firelight. I find it interesting. And every time Hugo would bring up or post about bringing yield for XRP holders to XRP holders, I found it interesting every single time. And again, this is about putting the blockchain ahead of the holder. That's what they've been doing. That's what it's been about. And I said I had a sneaking suspicion about that. I was going to hold my comments and reserve until it would become validated. And it has become validated. And that is not great. It's just not great. We all want the XRP to become better. We all want the XRP to get to a certain amount of TVL and get more DApps and wallets on it, but the right way. The bottom line, and I actually made a comment on Crypto's Eddie's post as well. I don't know if she'll respond back. She'll probably, anyway. Like, it's disingenuous. And so we want the XRPL to grow, of course. Right? We weren't as holders in charge or had a say in the direction of that XRPL. None. Nada. We had no say. There was a gatekeeper there. I talked about it all the time. It was Ripple. Talked about it all the time. And it's been like that for a while now. We all want TVL to come under the XRPL. We all want to see it grow, but we're not in control of what comes to as a proposal, what actually gets implemented on the XRPL. We're not in charge of that. We don't have any say in it. No say in it. Absolutely no say in that. And so it's limited. Crypto Eddie said it herself earlier today, early last night, whatever it was. The XRPL and the DEX need more programmability, it needs more features, and it's not there yet. And so for me, this XLR thing and what they've done is a desperate attempt to foster TVL numbers. Not even sure how much of it is on the XRPL and how much of it is actually the XRPL EVM sidechain. But bigger than that is this product is not great at all. This mXRP from Midas, being managed by, I don't know, Hyperium, some crap. Something like that. I don't mean to call it crap because it could be great, but I think it's Hyperium. And this is not about Midas. And this is not about Hyperium, whatever it's called. It's not about them. But the bottom line is third-party risk is custodial. You are giving up custody, and there's major redemption risk. This is a structured product which puts the retail holders at the greatest risk. And Panos and Vet should know better and be challenging that. But what they're doing is turning their head or turning a blind eye to those facts because of some metric that might be TVL on the XRPL. That's what's going on. And that is not a great look at all. At all. Again, we all want the XRPL to grow in TVL. But the fact of the matter is we have no say in as XRP holders, no say in the direction of that XRPL. None. Nada. Zero. And it's a hard truth, but that is the truth. I'm going to get into mXRP and why it's not a great look and all of that. I'm going to get into it for sure. But I want to call that out because, again, to bring someone on a spaces under some guise that you want to learn more, when the reality was all you were trying to do is punch holes in the product and the team because it wasn't on the XRPL. That was the bottom line. It wasn't about trying to learn more. That's the bottom line. And that's messed up. And that is messed up. Like, when are we going to learn our lesson? How would you put the holder? How would you put this blockchain ahead of the holders? Why would you do that? Especially when you know you have zero say in the direction of the blockchain. So as an XRP holder, how are you being valued with this blockchain? Answer, you are not being valued. That's the bottom line. Let me welcome some people to the stream before I continue my rant. Devon Steve is in the building. What's going on, brother? How are you? Rachel W is here. Hey, miss. Appreciate you checking in. Brother Crypto is in the building. How are you, bro? What's up, Pookie Pookie? Pookie Pookie says, I'm sticking with Flair. And anyway, Rupert, what's up, bro? What's up, my friend? How are you? So, yeah, I mean, it's just not cool. Again, I held back. because both Panos and Vet have been valued community members. So I held back. I'm going to keep my reserve the right to I'm just going to chill. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let the gut just be where it is until I get validation. And today is that validation. Who is DHN? Brother Crypto, you said DHN. Who is that? Goose says agreed. F assets is great is bigger than mXRP. It will try both first with small amounts. I will try both first with small amounts for learning purposes. It's a smart contract with over collateralization versus a project with people in the chain, which equals risk. Who is DHN, brother Crypto? I don't know who that is. Digital Hustle Network? What is that? What is the Digital Hustle Network? That a YouTube channel? Axelar and Flare, and by the way, brother Crypto, Axelar, we should let DHN know. Axelar and Flare are two different things. Axelar is not the same thing as what Flare is doing. It's a different thing, completely different thing. And again, and I made some comments on this as well. To me, it's this whole thing from Axelar is a desperate attempt to try to ramp up some TVL metrics for the XRPL. It's not a great look. Now, for those of you new, how many of you have heard about this news from Panos and this mXRP thing? How many of you have heard about the mXRP? Saw it? Let me see. Where do I want to go? Crypto Eddie first shined a light on it. Because she's already been interviewing the people there. And she did a post and Panos reposted that post. So, I looked into them, did some homework, did some research. And again, it's major counterpart. I don't know how much similar it is to Doppler Finance. I don't know. But there's third party counterparty risk. Major. They got a legal disclaimer. I'm going to read the legal disclaimer in the Midas write-up. There's a legal disclaimer. This basically says, good luck with all this risk involved here. And to see like Panos and VET, XRP holders pushing it, it's not great. And it's, again, because it's not great because they threw caution to the wind. They were all over anything Flare related to yield for XRP, custody, not your keys, giving up your this for that, all of that kind of stuff. And yet both of them are talking about this thing called mXRP for Midas. That's the reason. And now the answer is simple. The reason what they did that is because they put the blockchain ahead of the holders. That product is not about the holder. It is about the holder taking, first of all, giving up custody and taking on all, let me say that again, taking on all the risk. All of the risk. Again, if you didn't call out, where's the yield coming from? Well, are you giving up your key? Well, the XRPL, you can't really get yield on. Remember that? Well, the XRPL, the XRP, you can't really get yield on XRP. Remember all of those? You guys know. All right, so let me first share the post. Let me find the post from Crypto Eddie. Yeah, here it is right here. All right, let me share this real quick. Crypto Edit put this out. Now she's interviewed some of the people here from Midas. And these are, this is presentation is, I don't know if this is from the people from Midas, because she's got this in a quote. So I don't know if this is the people from Midas saying this. This isn't based on, I think, I don't know where Midas has been based out of. And let me read this post. The infinite money glitch, quote unquote, now officially has been revealed with Midas RWA. And I think they are out of Seoul, Korea. Again, I don't know. I don't know. mXRP that becomes a perpetual buyer of XRP. I look forward to bringing my recorded interview public with the CEO of Midas and Axelar this week. Okay. Panos reposted this. mXRP will likely be the biggest catalyst this quarter to drive significant adoption and activity on the XRPL. 10% APY on XRP. Again, this is a guy who questioned and said, well, you can't really get yield on XRP. 10% APY on XRP through DeFi yield and by just holding mXRP is massive. I expect the XRP/mXRP pool to become the #1 XRPL in a matter of days. Adding liquidity to the XRP, mXRP will virtually have zero risk and near zero impermanent loss, plus earnings from being an LP, plus the yield in 50% of your holdings, which will be in mXRP. This is a dream coming true. This is a dream coming true. Okay, so I'm going to go to, did I say something here? I did. All right. So I said mXRP does not equal trustless DeFi. It's a tokenized manager run yield note where you relinquish custody and trust third parties, right? Manager plus structure in the bridge for returns. That is the polar opposite of non-custodial, decentralized, composable finance, which was being offered to XRP holders on Flare. Non-custodial, decentralized, composable finance is being offered on Flare. And it can't be done currently on the XRPL. Panel says it's not trustless. Shouldn't it just end it there? It's not trustless, but it's a good start for the XRPL ecosystem, not the holder, for the XRPL ecosystem. It's still transparent and public. So is Celsius. So was BlockFi. And utilizing various DeFi protocols, so was Celsius, so was BlockFi and Nexo from other chains. Even stETH, which is the most popular LST, is not trustless. stETH is not the same thing as mXRP. It's two different things. stETH is staking ETH, securing the blockchain. That's not what mXRP is. It's a tokenized managed fund. And your representation is a certificate. Anyway, I'll continue on in my conversation with panels here in a second. Again, I'm calling this out because, again, they called out the things happening on Flare for XRP holders because it was not happening on the XRPL. putting the blockchain ahead of the holders. That's my problem. All right, so I'm going to go over this article, share this little article here, and it's from Axelar. Liquid staked mXRP launches, powered by Midas and Axelar. Tokenized exposure to on-chain yield for the XRP ecosystem. Midas, in partnership with Interop Labs, has announced the launch of mXRP on Axelar. Question: who is Midas? And why should we trust them? Who is Midas? And why should the XRP holder trust them? Where have they been? Where have they been? Here's what I know. Not in the XRP community. That's what I know. Has announced the launch of mXRP on Axelar, a first of its kind tokenized exposure product offering meaningful XRP denominated yield strategy. The announcement took place live on XRP on stage at the XRP Soul 2025 before an audience of 30,000 XRP holders. Axelar is the gateway to on-chain finance, says Georgios Vlachos, co-founder of Axelar Protocol and a director at the Axelar Foundation. By connecting the ledger to the world of DeFi for the first time, we are enabling compelling use cases, including tokenization and trading integrations. The mXRP token demonstrates the power of Axelar's platform to deliver blah, blah, blah. Okay, the mXRP token is used on the new XRPL EVM through audited smart contracts, Midas, an issuer of tokenized certificates authorized for retail distribution in Europe. Yeah, I don't want to read any more about that. That's just not great. By minting mXRP, users deposit XRP collateral into a tokenized certificate structure that tracks the performance of underlying on-chain yield strategies. These strategies, directed by third-party asset managers known as risk curators, may include market making, liquidity provision, and similar approaches. At launch, Hyperrhythm, what was I calling it? Hyperrhythm is providing risk curation services for mXRP. Who is Hyperrhythm? And why would anyone trust them with their XRP? Who is this? Who are they? The mXRP token is fully integrated within the XRPL EVM ecosystem and can be deployed across DeFi protocols to access additional opportunities such as lending markets and native integrations. Strategy performance is reflected in the value of the token via smart contract logic. Targeted net return is currently estimated at up to 10%. That's a lawyer thing right there. That's a lawyering right there. Up to 10%. So that means it could be 1% or 0%. Based on historical strategy performance, net of fees, and may vary over time. Past performance is not indicative. All right, so there it is there. There it is there. There's a disclaimer as well, a legal disclaimer that is, again, alarming. All right, let me welcome some more people to the stream before I cover some more things here. Uh, 0 hours in the building. What's going on, 0 hour? That's interesting. You haven't, brother crypto, because most people have already. I would say close to 85, 90% in reference to that CEDAS thing. Guys, do me a favor and hit that like button. That'd be really, really cool. We always like to have just as many likes as we got viewers in the stream. Again, my challenge is with vet and panels and anyone pushing this product, but especially those two, is because they came out and were constantly bashing the concept or idea that Flare was providing mechanism for yield on XRP, and that can't be done. That's what they did time and time again. And again, my suspicion was that was a sleight of hand move. And what they were really saying is this thing is not on the XRPL, so we're not going to be excited about it. As though it is some other project's fault that the XRPL lacks the programmability that is necessary for network adoption. Right? As though it's their fault. All right, so let me see what else I have here I want to share. And then I'm going to prove my point about the intention is blockchain over holders. That's the true intent. That is the true intent. All right, let me make sure I can find it first. Oh, there it is. So here's the deal while I say this. Decentralization versus discretion. This is the argument. True decentralization rules are on chain. No one can change your risk without your consent, like staking via audited smart contracts. mXRP, a manager chooses the strategy, market making, LP, lending. That's human discretion, not protocol rules. Let me say that again. That's human discretion, not protocol rules. What that means is anything can happen. Anything can happen. Anything can happen when there's human discretion and not protocol rules. Discretion equals centralized decision-making layered on your assets. Non-custodial versus custodial is a different thing. True non-custody. You always control the keys to the assets that generate your yield, like stXRP smart contracts. You can exit via the protocol. mXRP, your deposited XRP, sits in a structured vehicle, slant custody chain, controlled by the issuer, slant manager. You hold the claim token, not the underlying asset. You've handed over your custody. When you deal with Midas and this mXRP, you've handed over your custody and you rely on redemption promises. Let me say that again. When you're dealing with this mXRP, you've handed over custody and rely on redemption promises. Point number 3 is transparent protocol economics versus opaque strategy risk. Protocol yield comes from staking rules everyone can read. The variability equals the validator set, not human strategy bets. Managed yields comes from active positions, market making, LP, and borrowing. Returns depend on the manager's skill, market conditions, and risk controls. Strategy risk equals performance risk plus operational risk. You cannot audit on chain. Composability versus gatekeeping. Point number 4. Composability. Assets like stXRP are easy to whitelist as collateral because risk is legible, like staking and audits. Managed notes, however, many protocols hesitate to accept fund-like tokens as collateral, with NAV for gates, off-chain dependencies. mXRP's DeFi composability is conditional and fragile, and I wouldn't even say it's DeFi. And we do have historical precedents for yield chasing in custody. Celsius, BlockFi, Voyager, right? Offering high yields, central custody, rehypothecation, redemption gates, and insolvencies. While mXRP is not those firms, right? So this is not a knock on Midas or Hyperrhythm. The risk rhyme is clear. Yield plus custody plus manager discretion concentrates failure modes. In the end, you're re-entering the risk stack that DeFi was built to avoid. King Christopher's in the building. How are you? What's up? King Christopher Hutchison. I found it odd that everyone is calling for 10% yield, but the ad said 8%. Didn't like that. Don't like 3 people controlling my funds either. Again, I bring this up only because of the insincerity, the disingenuous from both panels and vet. And their willingness to put the XRPL ahead of the XRP holder. In the end, it is what it is. We don't own the chain. And we have no direction, and we have no say in the direction of the chain. And they don't want to be honest about that to themselves, that is, in fact, what it is. That's the reason why the Zhao DAO is coming about. There's a reason for it. So, again, for me, just not a great look from those guys when they were the first ones to call out anything that was on another chain that was going to provide yield or rewards for XRP holders that was on another chain. So mXRP is just a little bit of comparison. mXRP is a managed note, which puts you clearly in the traditional financial space, which means you are the least valued in that stack. Unsecured creditor, et cetera, et cetera. With the mXRP managed notes, you give up custody, trust the manager and his structure, accept strategy like NAV and bridge risk, and hope redemptions work in stressful times. Yield is discretionary and is variable. stXRP is liquid staking on Flare by Firelight. You keep exposure via audited smart contracts. Yield is from protocol staking, and you control the exits. The risk is on chain and plus validator, not managerial. Not to mention what's coming up from Enosys with the CDPs. So it's kind of like a credit layer where you post stXRP, FXRP as collateral on your Mina stablecoin, also with WFLR, There's no manager. You manage the LTV and the liquidation risk. It's code defined, not discretionary. Bottom line, this isn't trustless DeFi. mXRP is not trustless DeFi. It's a tokenized fund. With mXRP, you hand over custody and rely on a manager and legal structures to chase yield and honor redemptions. That's the very same risk stack that burned people in the last cycle. Do me a favor, guys, hit that like button. That'd be super, super cool. We always like to have just as many likes as we have viewers in the stream. So, sometimes I like to take my thoughts to ChatGPT. Make sure I'm not biased or slanted or tilted. Right? So let me share this. I asked ChatGPT, so I just want to make sure. I had to do it on my phone because the OpenAI thing just, I don't know, it's just crashed on me. I don't know if it's my laptop crashing or if it's the thing crashing. So let me get that question because it's not here. I like to read my thoughts out loud and with ChatGPT and like, dude, was it me or what's going on right now? Let's see if I have it on the phone. Oh, this is not it. Hold on. That's not my scrolling. Let me get my question here from the ChatGPT app. Just so you know what my question is before I read this. So it's probably long. Uh, uh, anyway, I said something along the lines of, so am I making this up? The concerns do I have? Is it, you know, am I right in saying that this is not trustless and there's counterparty risk and it's not non-custodial? And this is what it said here. It says, you're not making up. Based on the official announcement, mXRP is explicitly set up as a tokenized certificate. Let me. You're not making this up. You're not making it up. Based on the official announcement, mXRP is explicitly set up as a tokenized certificate where users deposit XRP and third-party asset managers, which are what they're terming as risk curators, direct on and off-chain strategies. In the beginning, it will be hyper-rhythm. That is manager slant counterparty risk, not trustless staking or non-custodial control. The press release also states that this token is issued by Midas, an issuer of tokenized certificates, and includes a legal disclaimer. I highlighted it. The press release also states that the token is issued by Midas, an issuer of tokenized certificates. It includes a legal disclaimer that investors have no legal rights in the underlying assets. and that claims are subject to qualified subordination, which means the asset holders are at the bottom as unsecured creditors in the event of some legal challenges. Those are hallmarks of a custodial slant structured product, not a non-custodial liquid staking token. Again, it's a guise, it's a hoodwink. Because what does Midas care? In the end, they'll be covered. The asset holder takes on all the risk here. The XRP holder takes on all the risk. When the crap hits the fan, and it always can. Always can. Some outlets are calling it liquid staking, but the primary sources describe a managed strategy certificate with bridge structure manager dependencies. It's not a pure protocol defined staking token like stXRP on Flare by Firelight. Bottom line, it is factual to say mXRP is not trustless and not non-custodial. Users must trust the issuer, managers, and structure for custody and performance. Just my thoughts, back and forth. ChatGPT. I don't want to come across as so. Remember, they're getting the sources from what Axelar puts out, what Midas puts out, what Hyperrhythm puts out, and it's going through all of that stuff. That's why Howard found the legal disclaimer. And again, it's alarming to me that they would do that. People at Flare can't say that, but I can say it. It's alarming to me that both VET and panels would do that. Sacrifice the holder, the XRP holder, for the benefit of the blockchain in a metric of TVL. Hydro's in the building. What's going on, bro? A319's production. That's a new name in the stream. How are you, my friend? Appreciate you checking in. Where are you checking in from, A319? Rendy Fendi. You think it's going to collapse? They're both very well respected in this space. I don't know if they're going to collapse, but this is what I do know, Rendy Fendi, that it can collapse. That crap can hit the fan. And that we, as holders, are subject to that subordination that was mentioned in the legal disclaimer, which means you're last in line for pennies on the dollar of your assets. Why risk it? When there's other ways to get valuable yield and use your XRP that is fully non-custodial. Why risk it? For a metric on DeFi Llama? For a metric on DeFi Llama, you're putting XRP holders at risk for some metric on DeFi Llama. Detroit, Michigan. What's good? I used to hang out in Dearborn, my friend. That's what's going on. That's what's going on. And again, I wouldn't. I've been holding back because I had this feeling from that spaces a while ago, and I'm sure Hugo will remember that space where Vet had him on talking about this is the early days of bringing yield for XRP holders and what was they were building out. And there was no mention of Firelight yet or any of that. None of that. Come on, internet. Come on, internet. Well, it's showing that I'm frozen. I don't know if I'm frozen to you guys. That's what it's showing here on the stream. um, Rende says, crap. So if they bust, then yeah, I may have jumped the gun on the APR. Was just attractive. You're saying just wait. Yes. And it's not, it's yeah, just yeah. I'm not telling anyone what to do with their stuff. What I am saying is for me in the crypto seasons home with my XRP, that I'm hopping on Flare because they're building products and protocols to bring value to XRP holders in a decentralized, non-custodial manner. And again, Midas, what does Midas care? They get to get a ton of assets going over to them and Hyperrhythm. What do they care? They know when crap hits the fan, Fende, that they're not going to. Chapter 11 bankruptcy is Chapter 11 protection for Midas, not the people who hold the assets. So what does reputation mean? What does reputation? Why does that matter? I'm not sure if there's anyone who had a better reputation in terms of successful businesses than a dude who had 3 to 4 billion-dollar companies. What do they call those things? When they do those billion, what does that call? I forget what they call it. 3 or 4 of them. That's a pretty good reputation. Pretty good reputation. Reputation didn't matter. When market conditions met bad strategies, it all went under. Once the largest holder of Bitcoin ever, and it went under. Unicorns. Thank you, Goose. 3 or 4 unicorns. So, right? Because in the end, when you decide to take your valuable asset and now put it in to traditional financial legal realms, you are at the bottom of the food chain. Doesn't matter how much APY you get. When the crap hits the fan, you're at the bottom of the food chain. And both panels and that have been here for all the madness that happened in this space. Why would they promote this product? I'll tell you why. Because it's going to add metrics to the XRPL. And that's the only concern. And to me, it doesn't matter if they're supposedly going to be buying XRP, perpetually buying XRP. What does that matter? What does that matter? What does it matter if my assets are no longer in my custody, which means I don't no longer have control of them. And when crap hits the fan, those assets are not my assets. When crap hits the fan, the legal system is set up for Midas to own the assets. Your assets that you worked hard for and that you use your dirty, nasty fiat to obtain through your hard work is theirs. It's the bottom line. Why risk it as a holder of an asset when you don't have to? And still be able to get yield and still be able to participate in trustless DeFi. Let me show you some examples of some disturbing stuff from VET and panels. What happened here? Why did I do that? Why did I do that? Why did I do that? Vet out here spewing TVL metrics from this product. A few mXRP on chain stats so far, 6.5 million on the XRPL EVM sidechain total supply. Where it originates on the XRP, right? Whatever. So right there, that some metrics. Who knows who those are? Those wallets are. Don't know. Someone has 41% of the thing, the next person 34%. Not great. And then some other metrics. Graph on how the mXRP is issued on the XRPL EV sidechain to then be bridged to the XRP ledger to be fully used on the DEX. Yeah, putting the protocol, the blockchain, ahead of. Let's see here. Someone said, wow, already that's going to be massive. XLR is going to see some upward movement here soon. We'll see, says that. But I am a lot more comfortable seeing those assets come to the XRPL and contribute to our DeFi landscape and in return be useful as distribution network as other protocols. In this case, the EVM sidechain. Again, not one concern from you posted on X about where the yield comes from. Interesting. No response. There's a reason for why there's no response. Let's vet. And here's another thing that kind of gave me some validation as well when my thoughts from a while back in the X spaces. Vet says we need to reverse this thinking. This was a couple of days ago, September 20th. Everyone wants to offer XRP community yield on their XRP elsewhere. All economic activity outsourced on their protocols to provide liquidity and generate yield. Remember, this was a concern here for him, but it wasn't in that last post. This is very sad to me. Something I saw as a niche addition to extend capabilities is now the de facto default. Are we okay with the Bitcoin and being are we okay with being the Bitcoin in DeFi? The XRP ledger is an OG DEX and tokenization platform out there. We should, by default, think first how to attract liquidity on chain here. XRP has a privileged role on the XRPL that benefits from DEX activity acting as a bridge curse, allowing projects and institutions to scale on the XRPL. I have nothing to say about the big protocols offering these to the XRP communities. Please good building, but I want us in the XRP community to not forget that we have here as well and keep it our default. And this is Hugo responded to this, and this is why. No need for the pearl clutching. Currencies are meant to be used widely for as many purposes as possible. But this again, I wanted to point out, okay, that this is what it's about. Why no mention of Enosys Global? Why no mentioning from the community members? Now, the ones who may be a paid sponsor for Axlar, right? Maybe. But in the end, they're not going to talk about where this yield's coming from. They're not going to mention the legal disclaimer. They're not going to mention the fact that this is truly non-custodial. It is truly custodial and you're giving up custody. It's not going to mention the managerial risk. They won't talk about that. But boy, if it's coming close to the XRPL, TVL, they don't talk about it. Again, to me, disingenuous that they're doing that. Disingenuous that they're doing that. Let me get back to my conversation. All right. So I said mXRP does not equal trustless DeFi. It's a tokenized manager run yield note where you relinquish custody and trust third parties. Manager plus the structure and bridge for returns. That is the polar opposite of non-custodial, decentralized, composable finance. And he knows it. He says it's not trustless, but it's a good start for the XRPL ecosystem. I said it's also non-custodial. Giving up custody of your XRP just for the sake of claiming it is on the XRPL feels desperate. That's how all liquid staking token says panels work. And all similar assets. You are not giving up custody. You're just buying another asset which generates yield. That's not true. That's not how stXRP will work on Firelight on Flare. With mXRP, there are third-party risk curators and custodians. mXRP is explicitly set up as a tokenized certificate where users deposit XRP and third-party asset managers direct on and off-chain strategies. That is manager slant counterparty risk, not trustless staking or non-custodial control. Midas, again, states in its legal disclaimer, investors have no legal rights in the underlying assets and that claims are subject to qualified subordination. That is a classic custodial slant structured product, not a non-custodial liquid staking token. What is non-custodial? V1.12 FXRP live on Songbird. The launch of FXRP version 1.2 on Songbird marks an important security milestone ahead of the Flare mainnet launch. At the same time, the code for Rita autocomplete competition, which we just got word that has ended. Okay, let me see here. The F asset system brings XRP into DeFi securely and at scale while keeping users in full control of custody. Through FXRP, holders can mint a one-to-one representation of XRP, which is now on Songbird, and later on Flare Network, mainnet, in a fully non-custodial manner. FXRP gains EVM level composability, opening access to DeFi opportunities across Flare. Now you throw in layer 0, it's going to be across all over. XLR can't hang out with layer 0. Stargate, which I think just got acquired by layer 0. The access isn't the same. There's Firelight. Firelight is officially waiting for F assets version to come on mainnet. And we're I don't know. The audit has been complete. I'll show you that later. And no major stuff. So the team at Flare Network will be moving forward towards getting this on mainnet. Earn with XRP. Firelight enables you to stake your XRP and earn rewards within the Flare ecosystem. Right? XRP staking. Firelight's staking mechanism for XRP lets you earn rewards on your XRP without sacrificing liquidity. By staking your XRP on Firelight, you immediately start earning rewards. The protocol will then issue you with liquid staking token and LST, enabling you to explore DeFi opportunities while your principal remains staked. Unlock anytime. Unlock anytime. Your XRP is locked in the XRP ledger when you stake. But unstaking is straightforward. Once you initiate your process, your XRP is unlocked automatically after a brief unbonding period. For example, I did a lot of staking in the Cosmos ecosystem. They had a 21-day unbonding. I did staking in Polkadot ecosystem. I believe theirs was 14-day unbonding period. Very normal stuff. That's to prevent the hacks. That's to prevent the gaming of the system. Deposit, take it off. Deposit, take it off. You're trying to game the system. The bad guys do that. That's why they have an unbonding period. Right? So I hope I got my point across. It's alarming that that would happen into today. What's going on, Rick Cisneros, in 2025, coming up in 2026? It's alarming that OGs in the XRP ecosystem will promote a product where they clearly know of the major counterparty risks because clearly know the counterparty risks, clearly know and disregard it for TVL, some metric on a blockchain. Rick Cisneros says this is why Firelight and Flare are inherently a better system. It's true decentralization. The XRP holders win, more importantly, no middlemen. And in the future, AI runs your portfolio, no humans involved. They'll be able to move towards that once they get the TEE environment with the protocol managed wallets. That's version 2 for FXRP. Brother Crypto says that's not, that's what I read is not good at all. A319's production says I'm sticking with Flare F assets. Me too, bro. You explained it well. Now I know. Thank you. No, I don't. Rende says, do you think that got paid off? No, I don't think that. I think that it's a very, very desperate attempt to try to save the XRPL, which does not need saving. Doesn't need saving. But in the end, Vet, Panos, you and I, we have no say in the direction of the XRPL. None. And I say this all the time on my channel. Go to where your ass sets are treated best. Okay? The bottom line, says Rick Cisneros, you do not own mXRP. You do not own mXRP, this minus XRP thing in this protocol. You need to do your own research. And if you put money in, make sure you understand the risk. As for me, Centura and Flare and Firelight are it. Well said, my friend. I agree. Couldn't agree more. Imagine sacrificing the XRP holder for TVL metrics. People have worked hard for their assets. Have worked hard for those assets. Take it from someone who was in this other situation with Celsius and how painful it was to hear the judge rule that your assets are not your assets, that they belong to the state, to the estate. I saw someone recently because I got some information. Someone had $51 million of Bitcoin, and they no longer have it. $51 million at today's prices. So there's a little interview out. Crypto Eddie's interviewing the guys over at Midas. Yeah, 51 million Pookie. But I'm not gonna watch it. because it's a hoodwink. It's a bamboozle that Midas is pulling over the XRP holder because they know the rules. They know the game. They know how it's played. They win in that traditional financial, legal, structured note world. The XRP holder does not. So they'll gladly take your XRP. They get to go out and stay in business and do whatever and you know amp up their skill sets and all that stuff. And that's awesome for them. But the holder, the XRP holder, takes the greatest risk. That is the bottom line. And why do so when you don't have to? Let me find Hugo's recent thing here. Hugo he's funny. Let's see what he did here. James Rule even caught on to a little bit of this, and I don't know. I think he caught on because he reposted or he posted something from the blog. He posted this part here. This is in the blog. And I don't, he puts a thumb up. I don't know what the thumbs up is about. I don't know if he's calling it out, but it's right there. These strategies directed by the third-party asset manager known as risk curators may include market making, blah, blah, blah. At launch is providing the risk. The M token is fully integrated to the ledger. He puts a thumb up here. And I think I commented on this. He did not comment. I said, in other words, you give up custody of your XRP and have to trust third-party asset managers for redemption instead of the smart contract protocol. Yeah, no, thank you. That's what I said. Somebody said, screw that. And I shared a legal disclaimer here as well. So let me find Hugo's thing. Hugo said something here. Why can't I get Hugo's thing here? Why? Let me go to his page because I know he posted something. I don't know if he was reposting or posting. Let's see. Hugo said FXRP will be bridgeable to all the main ecosystems by way of the biggest bridges for smart contract chains, which is far bigger than XLR. It's layer zero, Stargate and layer zero. Furthermore, Firelight will be able to derive yield across all ecosystems and bring that yield back to Flare again through Stargate. Someone said something here. You've been promising for 4 years. They've delivered. Let me say something here. Imaginable. This is third-party managers and custodians managing essentially a fund in which you give up custody. Can I spell custody? me spell check Midas legal disclaimer. So there that is there. I'm going to go to my notifications. So let me see something here. Again, the person talking about it's been 4 years is again, when are we going to learn about these shortcuts? When are we going to learn about the danger and the harm of the shortcut? Of just putting out a product to appease. Just what Axelar is doing, rushing the market with this product to appease some meaningless, in this grand scheme of things, meaningless metric. When are we going to stop doing with that? Right? So let me do this. Let me do this. Let me share here. Share. That's fair. Sorry about that. So you've been making promises for 4 years. Don't crap on Axelar. They've delivered a product you've been trying to deliver for years. David Schwartz did say you guys were building I don't even know what that means. Maybe why you're having a hard time giving it life, deliver something. So, and so I commented on that. Yeah, delivered a horrible product that puts the XRP holder at the greatest risk imaginable. This is third-party managers and custodians managing essentially a fund in which you give up custody of your XRP. Check the Midas legal disclaimer. So Hugo had something to say, respond to that as well. So that's right. So Hugo says, I'll push back against your assertion that I'm fighting Axelar. I was simply correcting their mistaken statement on where FXRP can be used. Why have we taken our time? Well, many have tried bridging XRP before, and there was minimal market interest for it. One chain comes to mind. This is because no one focused on the ecosystem around XRP and around XRP on the other side of that bridge. We have spent the time you mentioned building a first-class chain and, as importantly, a first-class ecosystem. Stargate and Layer Zero are a big part of that. So are SparkDex, Enosys, BlazeSwap, Kinetic, Firelight, USDT Zero, more markets, and our wallets and institutional partners. All are working towards a future for XRP. Flare is built to give non-smart contract assets life. Flare is going to give XRP a lot more to do. Then we're going to introduce Flare 2.0 with the TEEs and protocol managed wallets, the trusted execution environments protocol managed wallet. Game changer. But this dude's statement about 4 years and haven't delivered is classic unintelligent responses. Classic. Because the space as a whole, the digital asset space as a whole has been drugged up on product to market. Let's get something quick. Let's developers make some money. Let's give the people a product. Never mind the risk. And that's what we've been having in the past. When are we going to learn from that? When are we going to learn from that? My question. That's right, Pookie Pookie. Hugo tossed that talk because he knows what he's talking about. Indeed. So there it is, fam. I wanted to, get on here and give my 2 cents. So again, um, I started this live stream with the fact that two community members, Vet and Panos, repeatedly questioned Hugo, questioned the team at Flare about XRP yield on XRP. Constantly, constantly. In spaces on X. And not a mention of where the yield comes from with this mXRP. Not one mention. Who is Midas? Who is Hyper Rhythm? Just like I asked about Doppler Finance and Strobe Finance. Who are they? They haven't been here from day one of their inception looking to bring value to the XRP holder, like Flare has. Day one, nonstop, ups and downs, good times, bad times, head down, blinders on, focused on bringing value to the XRP holder. The asset holder, and building an ecosystem around this for us to be able to participate. It's alarming to me that no one is saying, who is Midas? What are they about? Where have they been? This is a money grab for them. Asset manager fees and the likes. It's a money grab for them. They're not at risk. The asset holder is taking the greatest risk. And it's disingenuous and it's alarming that both Vet and Panos would immediately take the posting about it. I understand it's, someone's got a product that they're trying to build out on the XRPL. They need TVL and they need users. They get it. But you can't sacrifice the XRP holder for that product. And that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. Sacrificing the XRP holder for metrics on a blockchain and some product that they're looking to build out. Not a great look. So anyway, again, I'm saying things that probably Hugo and the boys can't say. But in any case, I've been here from day one. Holder since 17, in the space since 16. I've seen the good, the bad. XRP holder since 2017. I've seen the good, the bad, and ugly. And I clamor for the days that the XRP holder can get more value for the assets that they hold and have that asset be recognized as valuable. Not just even with just F assets. What about this new thing from an Enosys with these CDPs, these collateralized debt positions, where the asset becomes even more valuable than just staking it? You can use your asset as collateral, mint, stablecoin. Again, once again, a stack where XRP holders are being valued. And I'll say it again, I'm going to end the stream with this as well. I would suggest that you go to where your assets are treated best. All right, fam, do me a favor, hit that like button on the way out. That'd be super, super cool if you didn't get a chance to do it on the way in. I appreciate you guys. And if you happen to be in that 55% or so of people that are hanging out, listening to and watching the Crypto Siege, do me a favor. If you've been enjoying those hangouts, please consider subscribing to the channel. And don't forget to ring that notification bell, baby, so that you know whenever we go live or whenever we upload a video. I'm going to end this video like I do all my videos and remind you guys of this. Old money doesn't want you to win. But that's okay, though, because you and I, we're already winning. And I would ask you to consider this or perhaps ponder the idea or notion of living your life permissionless. I'll talk to you guys soon. See ya. Bye.